Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 199. How are you, Josh Rohr?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I know we have a special guest that's going to be joining us a little bit later. Is this where I do the reveal of who it is?
Sure. Do it.
Okay. So Cameron Barrilleaux is going to be joining us. He's now USA Powerlifting's secretary.
Yep. And current collegiate committee chairperson and, Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast loyal listener.
Loyal listener, which is right there. Just warms my heart. And he always has a musical list when we're doing that to compete in. So, much appreciate out to Cameron.
Very much so. So we didn't have all the team awards for high school nationals last week, so I wanted to kind of go through those today, just now that we have them. Eric Cordero sent them to me, so I figured we'll kind of go through those real quick, and we'll just do the varsity. No, I don't want to, snub the JV team awards, but we want to kind of go through the varsity real quick. So on the girls varsity Raw teams, third place was Hortonville High School. Second place was Neenah. And first place was Boston Latin Powerlifting. The girls varsity equipped, second place was Boston Powerlifting. And the national champions in the equipped side was Necedah High School. The boys varsity Raw, the third place was St. John's Prep. Second place was Osceola. And the national champions in the boys varsity Raw was Hortonville High School.
Hey, I just have to say, St. John's Prep is from where I'm from. So
yeah, Boston.
Well, the North Shore. I think St. John's is might be in Danvers, Peabody, one of those. Anyway.
Gotcha.
Mixed varsity Raw. We have number 3, Neenah Powerlifting. Number 2 was New Richmond High School. And number 1, Boston Latin Powerlifting.
Boston.
All right. New Englanders coming at you. Like it. Yep. And mixed varsity equipped, we had at number 1, Neenah Powerlifting.
Awesome. So those were your top 3 teams on the varsity side at high school nationals. And real quick, we'll just give a shout out to the best lifters real quick too. The girls varsity Raw was Iris Tyberg. Boys varsity Raw was Robert Gaffney. The girls varsity equipped was Bianca Quinonez. Man, I'm sorry about that. I'm sure I didn't say it correct. And then boys varsity best lifter was Logan Gaudreau.
Huh. That's a familiar name.
That is a familiar name.
Nice. Good for him.
Yep.
Last time I saw Logan, he was like,
I know,
in high school.
So I saw him at was it Bench Nationals this past year, and this giant of a man walked up. I was talking to Dan, and this giant guy walked up and was just standing there, and I'm like, "What is this dude doing?" And it turns out it was Logan. And in my mind, he's still this little
frozen in time at that little. Yeah, wow, that's cool. That's cool. I like to see kids who come up through the ranks and you kind of know their parents and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Shout out. Much appreciation to the parents right there.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. So here's the powerlifting situation. Your belt breaks right before your opening deadlift. What should you do?
Freak out. Correct answer. I mean, it is an option. It's probably the most common answer or most common actual what happens. But I mean, I think you try to borrow one. The caveat there is you do need to get it approved by the jury if it's a national meet, because you didn't check it in. Even if somebody else checked it in, it hasn't been checked in for you. So, ask if you can borrow a belt and then, run it to the jury real quick and, put it on if you have time for that. If not, you may just have to roll without one. An opener, some people can do it without a belt, some people can't. I'm probably one of those that cannot. So I would take it to the jury, and if I time out, I time out.
Right.
It's better than hurting yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And freaking out doesn't really do you any good, but I agree that's probably something I'd be, prone to do as well. Like just, oh my gosh, right now, really? Um, yeah, but getting there's somebody there who has a belt that you can use. That's already done, most likely, right? So go find that belt, get it approved, and get on the platform. If you miss an opener, no big deal. Just, you can still get 2 out of 3 and be fine. So,
And the thing is, like, you're in a flight of lifters that are, basically you're going to be your same weight class. So it's not uncommon. I've seen it happen where, something like that, not necessarily a belt, but lifters in your own flight that you're competing against are often willing to like lend you a pair of wrist straps or lend you a belt as long as they get it back for their attempt. I mean, you don't think that would be the case, but lifters are pretty understanding and know the situation. So,
right,
obviously if it's like two people that are like going to be neck and neck, like for the national title, like they may not be willing to share with each other, like for competitive purposes, but they might, you never know. So, it's definitely worth asking. And yeah, a lot of times there's other people that have already competed or, in a different platform or a different flight that you can borrow. So it's not directly, affecting the current flight.
right. So, like, here's the situation, right? Like, say you and one other lifter are like neck and neck, and it could go one way or the other, right? And you're not, right next to each other in the lifting order, and they would benefit from your belt. And if they don't get the belt, you're probably likely to cinch it, do you?
Oh, I don't give them my belt. In a competitive situation like that, I am the biggest jerk you'll ever meet in a competitive situation like that. So I'd say most people would not be like that. Most people are probably actually quality human beings. But in a competitive situation like that, I'm
Oh.
I'm the biggest jerk that you'll ever meet. I'm not giving you my belt.
Yeah, I think I'd feel wrong, like if I won and it was by a good amount, and I'd be like, well, what if I had given them the belt? Would I have won? Is this fair? Like I probably would. I wouldn't want to win just because of that.
I might feel guilty about it later, maybe. I probably would actually, but in the moment, 100% no, I would never. Because I'm so paranoid. Like my thought would then be, what if they take my belt and sabotage me and don't give it back? What if, and like all of those thoughts run through my head.
Right. And then it's messing with you.
Right.
Mm.
That's what it is. It would mess with me because I'm a giant. If you know anything about me, when I'm actually competing, I am the biggest head case you'll ever meet.
Biggest head
I'm the
case.
I'm the biggest jerk. I'm the biggest head case. Like I am any coach's and handler's nightmare. Like you don't want to like I
Absolutely true. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde right
yeah,
here.
like
That's you.
I don't know how my coaches and handlers have put up with me, but like they are saints.
Yeah. Well, the difference is though, like when you're not grab assing. When you're there to lift, you are not grab assing one little bit, right? You are there to win. And I can respect that, even though you're a giant head case. Emotional wreck.
I'm a glass case of emotions.
Oh, head case.
Yeah.
Crazy. You need therapy.
Yes.
Anyway, we're gonna move on to the new lifter tip.
All right.
All right, new lifter tip. Prioritize recovery. So true. Sleep, nutrition, and rest days are just important as training. Recovery allows your muscles to grow and prevent burnout.
Yeah.
Boy.
I think this is a big time miss for a lot of younger lifters, especially because they quote unquote don't have to. But the reality is they recover from a lot more than they realize. So they're able to train a lot more than they realize. Well, then you fast forward a couple years when you get a little bit older or you're not recovering as well. They never prioritized it, but they could still train at such a higher capacity, but they basically get burnt out or get injured because they haven't prioritized this. And if you think about that window when you're younger, like how hard you can train and go out drinking all night and still train the next day, like what if during that window you actually prioritized recovery? How much more how much more could you have done? How much better could you have become? And that's the thing that it's always hard to sell because, younger, the teenagers, the early 20s lifters, they're invincible, right, in their mind. So it's hard to convince them that focusing on these things matter. But man, if they really did, and the ones that do, they get so much better faster than the others. And I think that's the window that, if you can make those things a priority at that point in time in your life. I mean, obviously all the time, but like that point in time too, like it really can make a big difference.
Right. And sleep is just so underrated. As human beings, we don't get enough, and as Americans, we just go, 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 right? And I have a friend who's a sleep doctor, and he always says that, the downfall of society is going to be the electric light bulb because it just allows us to do things that we wouldn't normally do at night.
Right.
Evolution just hasn't caught up.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And
we should be
I think
sleeping.
I think that's probably true. I mean, you got people working night shift and, they're all jacked up. People that stay up till 2 in the morning, doing whatever. I agree.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Got it.
So for our random BS, did you have any specific questions based on what I said last week?
I had a whole list and I don't have them. I can't think of it right now in front of me. So I'll come back to it.
All right, we'll come back to it because yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's more for sure.
I'm excited to talk to Cam and hear his insights on, what's coming at collegiates and stuff like that. So
Oh, I guess we should leave room for that.
that's kind of clouded my thoughts a little bit today. So
The excitement, the excitement.
yeah.
All
So I
right.
guess without further ado, we'll welcome Cameron Barrilleaux to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
I'll do a real brief introduction here. You are Cameron Barrilleaux. You are the current secretary for USA Powerlifting. Are you still the current collegiate committee chairman?
Current as of
But
now, yes.
probably most important though, you are an avid listener of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Oh
by
yeah.
far your top title.
Every week, I do my best when y'all send in the competitions to throw in music that just gives you and Lara the worst facial expressions ever. Like who would ever send this in?
Absolutely, that's probably true. But we appreciate it. So you're actually at the airport right now, heading out to Collegiate Nationals in Oklahoma, correct?
I am.
All right. So
Uh,
what are we expecting from collegiates this year? You want to kind of run through what you got? So let me preface this by saying that you've done more research and have more data for previewing Collegiate Nationals than we've done from all of our previous 200 episodes combined.
Yes, I have now. If we want to go past through the past 15 years, I'm the person. What I'll say about this Collegiate Nationals is that going into it, especially as chairman, I try not to look too much into it. I just kind of want to see what happens. But of course, Midland is a powerhouse. They have set the stage of the team to beat. And as
And
soon as
they were beat last year.
they were beat, but they do have, I mean, over the past 3 years, they've won 11 of the past 12 titles. I look at it like women's basketball. UConn, they won multiple years in a row, 4 or 5. And Gino Ariama said, when somebody gets to the point where they can beat us, then women's college basketball is going to be better for it and it's going to be a better product. And I feel that way about Midland as well. They have a fantastic team. There are a lot of teams that say they hate them, and I think that they hate them a lot because they can't beat them. But as we saw, Louisiana Tech had a dynasty from the start of Collegiate Nationals all the way up until probably 2010. And then finally teams started to get the picture, add up what they needed to do. Sometimes it wasn't building the best team by totals. Sometimes it was all the intangibles that come into being a team and lifting and collegiates as a team sport. And what are those intangibles that can get you to the next level, that can have you compete with some of these incredible totals and incredibly strong people? In 2009, we started to see that shift of other schools besides Tech winning often. And we saw that for about 10 years. But now Midland's here, and they've said, we're not going anywhere until somebody takes us out. And you can see the quality of powerlifting get better with that. There will be a day where their dynasty ends, but right now they're pre-ranked first in all 4 categories. But that's why we have Collegiate Nationals. Let's see what the final totals say and what they tell us.
So your rankings, I'm looking at all the data you sent me. Basically, you're going off of the top 5 lifters by qualifying total in each weight class. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
which
do
which
have
is
a
the
top
only way.
5.
That's really the only way to do it right now currently.
Right.
So yeah.
The points are the same. I will say Kate Driscoll, who is on the collegiate committee and does some amazing work with statistics, has those points are top 5 and beyond, all the way to top 25. Collegiates has gotten so big to where we've said 10th through 25th gets a point, and everybody after 25th gets 0 points, so we can start fighting for every place that we can get. It's grown into something special. Those pre-rankings, there is a top 5 for each weight class, but with those rankings for forecasted totals, those are with everybody's top 6.
Gotcha.
Or
And there are
top 7.
Gotcha.
We've had a lot of scoring differentials over the years.
Yeah, well, yeah, with the weight class changes and the addition of the women's weight. I mean, I think it has to evolve to make it fair and make it competitive, right? So that's naturally going to happen. Looking at the roster, there's 1,168 lifters. Is this the largest collegiates ever?
It is not. Last year was the largest with 1,227, I believe. With 1,167, we have gone away with one of the things that we did in the past 3 years was collegiates was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We could see that we could easily have a meet of 2,000 lifters if we desired to. I think the logistics in that would be very, very difficult, and we're very focused on keeping it 4 days, because at the end of the day, Collegiate Nationals is important, but getting to classes and getting that education is the reason why we're all doing this, or the reason why we should be all doing this.
Yeah, and I think on the surface, like 2,000 collegiate lifters, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. That sounds great, but yeah, like you said, the logistics of it all, even so, if you wanted to keep it 4 days, like, what would that be? Is this going to be 4 platforms?
It is going to be 4 platforms.
Okay, so double that. We need 8 platforms, which then we need how many warm-up racks, which then we need how many referees? Like, yeah, logistically, that's just not possible yet.
Yeah, the costs go way higher, and also the quality of everything. We have judges that are very diehard. I'm going to come to collegiates because this is important, and we see the importance of how it, like, the gravity of the team competition, and how it needs to be taken seriously. But even the best of us as judges, if you're on the platform for 10, 11 sessions in a row, your calls start to get a little hazy, and
that's not fair
to that focus.
That's not fair to the sport or to the lifters.
It's not fair to anybody. So one thing we have looked into is how to bring collegiates outside of collegiates, because everybody's working towards Collegiate Nationals. We have to have a cap. That cap's going to stay at 1,350 until, probably for a lot, the next 5 to 10 years. So how do we bring that atmosphere of Collegiate Nationals out to other meets? And one of the talks right now is having the Collegiate Cup Series, which is going to be collegiate exclusive meets between November and February. And these will go on and try to bring that energy that you see at collegiates. The thing that makes collegiate special is that no matter if you barely qualified or if you're going for an American record, it is allowed. It's allowed for the American records because you're seeing something incredible, something that hasn't been done before. But you also got the first person in the flight that sometimes has been a team player for 3 years, just working to get the qualifying total and finally get there with their team. The person that's been spotting and loading all these years to make sure that the people that are really successful on your team can get to the next level. Those people that are wrapping knees, those people that are doing all the behind the scenes work finally get their chance. And their teams know it. You get to see Rudy out there, barely hitting the qualifying total, but it is so impressive and so special because you know how much that person has brought to everybody else's total, how much they've contributed to the success of each individual and all the teammates.
Yeah. And I think until you witness it in person, like, I don't know that any words can fully explain how just awesome the environment is. Like, it's hands down the best meet, period, if you ask me. The Arnold is awesome. The Arnold is great. Raw Nationals is awesome. It's great, but like, in my opinion, none of them hold a candle to collegiates.
Well, and those are your words, not mine. First
Right,
off,
but again, this is Josh's opinion.
yeah. I want to say I'm biased, and I grew up in collegiates, and this has always been the meet that has been special to me. It's the meet that kept me going for a lot of years, and I want to say that every meet has their own unique identity, and I think with collegiates, the unique piece of it is the team aspect. It's only meet that you see that somebody will take a third place over a second place if it means that their team has a better chance of winning the national title. And that makes zero sense, but sometimes you have to, hey, you can either go for a 15 kilo PR and get second, and that'll give us 1 point. But if you miss, you're going to drop to six, and and you're going to lose three, and that's a big deal when it comes to collegiate nationals. We've seen people that have been pre-ranked first at the national championships, and this was at the time when you could change weight classes the day of a meet and then say, I'm going to go up a weight class just to let you know at weigh-ins. We've seen people that have won the national championship by 30, 40 kilos jump a weight class with a 10% chance of winning that weight class just to get enough points for their team to win a national title or get a higher placing. It truly is about the team score, and that's what makes collegiates unique. I don't think you really have a team competition anywhere else in the world in powerlifting.
Definitely not like this. Definitely not where every lifter like matters for the points and the team standings, and everybody knows it. Like, it's unlike any other event that I've been to in powerlifting. It's pretty special. So on that note, and I know you don't have a whole lot of time because you do got to board a plane here at some point. Do you want to run through, again, these are not your opinions of who's going to win, but do you want to run through just what the data says based on qualifying total, who the projected top 5 teams are in each division?
I'd be happy to do that. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you because, in all of the historical data of powerlifting, there is always an anomaly or two. And you, as the president of Ashland University, pulled out a top 3 at Collegiate Nationals when it was unheard of a team outside of Louisiana and Texas having success.
So we're going back old school, huh?
We are going, I the younger viewers will say we're going way back before they were born, but for us, it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
I want to ask you what that experience was like and what motivated you to really bring, because to get a top 3 is no joke at any point in time. and you had to put some work into it to be able to form to get that.
So I'll be honest with you, at that point in time, I was not that like I knew Louisiana Tech, but like I had no strategy in terms of the team placing. We were just going as we had four guys on our team. We were just going as four guys that qualified, and we were representing Ashland University, the same school, because that's where we all went. We had no even thought of placing as a team, and it just turns out that three of us ended up winning our weight classes. And even then, we weren't following the team scoring, believe it or not. We had no idea. And then when they called us as third place, we were all pretty shocked. It was pretty crazy.
I'm glad that y'all saved for the awards.
Yeah, right, right. Me too.
We had that last year. UC Irvine got fifth place on the raw side. Never thought that they'd ever place, and then immediately after, I'm getting emails from the collegiate like, "Oh my God, I think we just got top five. We're not there," and just that anxiety of we're so excited that this has happened. But you pulled off a top three at collegiates. What was the team experience like? I know that y'all weren't looking much at the team scoring, but were y'all lifting together? Were y'all training?
Yeah, for the most part, we all trained together. I mean, there were a few like I know Justin Lorenzetti was one of our lifters that won. He was one of the throwers on the track team. So he was doing it kind of as his hobby. Jason Schwalm was one of the football players at Ashland, and he, was we obviously saw him lifting in during football because we actually kind of trained. So how at that point in time we trained alongside the track team. And in fact, Judd Logan, who's the track coach, was actually my first powerlifting coach at Ashland. He just volunteered to coach me. I mean, he competed in powerlifting back in the day. But yeah, we kind of, we definitely try to get at least once a week in together. Most of us, and we had a bunch of lifters on the team that, did not qualify. And to your point, yeah, that's the goal, is to always to get them there. And, maybe year one, they don't make it. Year two, they don't make it. Year three, they don't make it. Year four, they just make it. And everybody is like so excited. But yeah, it was good. We had a pretty close knit team because we didn't have that many lifters. I think our entire team had, I think, 12 lifters that year, and five of us qualified, four men and one female. So yeah, it was an experience. Like that's definitely one of my top five powerlifting moments. I think is that's probably more like top one or two, honestly. That I hold that higher regard than any of my individual accomplishments. Like that was something that was really special.
Awesome. How did that play into, you have Team Roar now, and who isn't just a whole bunch of individuals, and this is how I feel, not a whole bunch of individuals that's just going to a coach for programming. But when y'all show up to a meet, y'all are a team. You can tell that there's chemistry there, and there's much more time outside of the squat, bench, and deadlift that has contributed to the success. And I want to ask, how did Ashland University, did that bring any of kind of your ideas for Team Roar and inspire how you went forward with creating what you have now?
I've never really sat and reflected on that, but now that you say that, 100% it did. I think a lot of it, again, I'm going to mention the track team again. I mean, how Judd Logan ran his weight room and his track team was as a family. When one person was going for a PR in the weight room, like the entire weight room was like clapping, and it just got like super hype and motivated. And, I think it's just everybody was supporting everybody. And I think I've definitely tried to carry that kind of mentality into the team as well, because it's not really about any one individual. Yeah, powerlifting is quote unquote an individual sport, but it doesn't it doesn't have to be like that. Like it can be a team sport, and it is a team sport in a lot of ways. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny. I never really reflected on that too much, but like as you bring it up, like it almost chokes you up a little bit, because yeah, that definitely carried a big part of how we do things now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm supposed to be interviewing you, man. What's going on here?
Well, I gotta get some questions in too. We're always around each other, but we don't get to chat much. And I'm so thankful that you have me here today. And I do want to get to your question though about this year in the Collegiate National rankings. One thing I'll say is that Midland's probably the favorite in everything until otherwise noted, until somebody steps it up and takes them down. But what I'll also say by pre-rankings is that they can be very deceiving in when these totals were attained and what can happen at a meet. For example, you'll see that there's a gap between they're just numbers. If you're getting a 12 points from having a 2.5 kilo lead in the pre-ranking and that team in seconds got 9 points, if those flip, that's a 6-point flip right there. 12 to 9 and 9 to 12, that is a 6-point flip. And then the numbers don't seem as far away as they once were. That's why at this meet, every point matters, every kilo matters. And I say every kilo matters because, yeah, what if you do run away and win by 100 kilos in your weight class? Well, UTSA and Midland answered that question in 2022 on the equip side when they had a dead tie from first to fifth. They went through every tiebreaker all the way up until the final tiebreaker, which was dots. And they were about, I think, 2% within each other in the dots. It was something like 2040 to 2080 when you combined all the dots points. There were lifters that went 3 or 4 for 9. You think about, hey, what if I went 5 for 9 or 6 for 9? How would that change the dynamic? How would that have affected the scores? So one thing that I ask as chairman and at this meet is that you fight for every place, every point. Even if you're in, 30th or 35th place, fight for 31st or 30th. As coaches, learn how to crunch numbers because you're going to need to do that.
Absolutely. But even, you get the team awards are usually top 5, right? But there's still a hell of a lot of pride in, placing top 10 or top 15 as a team. And those things matter, like what you're talking about, so yeah, that's the part I love about it too, is like, it matters everybody that's there matters. Like, that's the thing. It's crazy.
And that's the thing that we want. We want people to feel like they matter. When you feel like you matter in a college, you're more likely to get involved and get that 4-year degree. Because at the end of the day, as much as we'd all like to be professional power lifters, I will never be a professional power lifter. I had a mediocre deadlift and that just took me out of it completely. But at the end of the day, you can get money with powerlifting, but you can't sustain that professionally. There are people that use powerlifting to influence their careers, but when it comes to powerlifting, it's not something that necessarily can pay all the bills all at once just from your performance on the platform. So we want to encourage people that, what you do in collegiates matters. And ultimately, if what we do matters, it can convince people to come back and get that education and get that degree. So when they move forward in life, they have that chance for success. And hopefully when they find that success, they give some of it back to our sport. Because it truly is special what happens out there.
Yeah, agreed. All right. You want to go through the by the numbers, the top 5 teams? Let me ask you this. How much time do you have? What time do you got to be like?
11:15. So I got some time.
Well, okay. What time? It'd be 12:15 our time.
12:15. I'm looking at I'm making sure that they don't board. They're right behind me. Looks like we're good.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, if you don't mind, why don't you run just what the projections say, who the top 5 teams are, again, just based on the current qualifying totals. And like you said, so many things can change. A first place and a second place swapping can change everything. So again, these are just based off of qualifying totals. Do you have that in front of you, or do you want me to go through it?
If you could go through it, like I said, I think I pretty much screenshot it and send it to you.
Yep,
I
I
don't
have
look
it.
too much into it. And then day 4, I look very much into it to make sure that all of the scoring is correct, and we make sure that when we get to the award ceremony, where everything's verified. But
And
until then,
this is new in the past couple of years, is scoring.usapowerlifting.com, where you can actually follow along with the live team scoring. That's something that's relatively new in the past couple of years. So that's very interesting too, and very helpful. Well, I say helpful for a coach, but most coaches probably have the math done on their own end anyway, day to day, I think.
the ones that are very passionate do. I'll tell you, we were adding scores all the way from start to finish, and especially with in deadlift. Like if you pull out a calculator, you've already lost to some of those coaches. So it's really
Right.
important to be able to crunch numbers at collegiates to fight for every place. But
Yep.
no, it's been really good because we have our teams that have been around for the longest time that are fighting, that know that they're going for a top 5 and they're keep the time. But this has been great for all of these newer teams that are just getting in, that are not necessarily saying I'm happy to be here, but more like we're coming here and we have no expectations with the team scoring. But then once you can see the team scoring, it's hard to not say, oh, if we get that extra point, we jump up 10, because there are uh, we have 280 scoring divisions at this collegiate national championship. There are going to be placings first through 80th in some areas, and I would prefer a top 25 finish over a top 30 or a top 35 if it comes to, hey, if you deadlift 2.5 kilos more, we got a chance to really go up these rankings and make a difference.
Yeah, and I think how often does that actually come into play? Like, I mean, when you're making decisions on deadlifts, like if you're following it, I think 100% it makes an impact in how you call numbers. If you're not following it, and you're just calling numbers based on this is my biggest pet peeve is so I'm a nerd and I go through and look at some of this stuff after the fact, like especially meets that I'm not there, and I look at even at the local level, like there's lifters that weren't looking at the best lifter rankings, and they could have pulled 2.5 kilos more. Our Georgia prime time, we had an event. There was prize money for the top 3, and there was a lady that made it her third attempt easy, and she could have went up 5 kilos and won money, but wasn't paying attention. Like stuff like that, just like I can't handle it. Like, how do you not follow that stuff? Like, it's not. I mean, it's easy, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot of math, but like it's simple. It's very like I don't know. I can't. I don't know. It drives me crazy. Like I have to know all those things and have all that stuff like follow it the whole time. And it's just I don't know. I enjoy it though. So there's that.
Yeah. I'll tell you that in watching your podcast, when you're going over meet results, and I can tell immediately from your tone and voice, it's very subtle, but I think the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Why did you not look up and add that 2.5 kilos? And a lot of times I think crunching numbers and making those changes has been a lost art, and it's been really great for me when I crunch numbers, because then it's really easy for me to come out on top. But
Right.
then it gets also really sad because you look at the lifter and you're like, oh, just with making that attempt, like to to be aware of where you're at. At the end of the day, I think at these large meets, national meets, state meets, PRs are great and all, but if you can place first instead of second, or you know place in the top 5 instead of not placing in the top 5, give it a try and go for it, and then go pull a PR in the gym.
And I think this meet specifically it highlights the fact that this is a competition and there is strategy. Like I think so many people go into into powerlifting meets and, they want to hit PRs or, these are their numbers and that's what they're going to do. And that's fine. Like people can do that. But like the fact is, this is a powerlifting competition. This is a team competition. All of those individual competitions combine for the team competition and it all matters. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting excited talking about it. Like it's so, and at Collegiate Nationals, you're going to have other coaches that are thinking the same thing. And, they're planning out their fake changes to make you have to do math that doesn't matter because they're going to change again. And, that stuff's just so much fun to me.
And you and I have had one or two times where that fake math has come into play over the years, and it always
Yeah.
brings the fun in as a person who's handling and taking care of somebody. That's like my selfish joy is to know that I one up another person and my lifter can take a higher place. But
Yeah. And,
but yeah,
how many times have I accidentally dropped a temp change card that was already filled out beside my competitor's coach and oops, I didn't mean to drop that. And of course I wanted them to see it, that means
absolutely.
nothing. Just stuff
Yeah,
like that. It adds to the excitement and to the strategy and the gamesmanship of it all. And
and I've started putting down just blanket temp cards and then looking at the scoring table and thank you so much for all that you do. And just
yeah,
put my hand over it and then
yep,
lifting it. And it's got nothing on it, but somebody thinks that I've made a change if they're
yep,
not paying attention. So they're like, oh, he's already made a change. We got to make a change. And then if they got one change and I got two changes left, I got the advantage and I'm feeling good. You gotta sometimes bluff it and hope that somebody takes the bait. But you brought up a good point of people are so focused on their PRs and sometimes they hit their PRs and it's like it's great. You had 2.5 kilos more than you and you could have gotten 3 or 4 places higher at a national championship. But also the fact of like what if your PR is not there that day? How do you navigate that to get the best place possible? Because there's a lot of times when you get to deadlift and you're just gas, and it's not because you don't have the strength, but it's because it's been a long day. Uh, a lot of times it's been an emotional day, and how do you as a coach? And I guess this is a question for you. How do you as a coach talk your lifter into saying, okay, it's not our day. We're going to go for what we have right now, and we're going to get out of here and get back to the drawing board.
yeah. I mean, that's always. I try to have some of those conversations ahead of time before the meet, even like, hey, if this scenario comes up, this is how I would like to handle it. Are you on board with that? Because a lot of people, and I was this way as a lifter. Like if any of my coaches ever lowered my opener, my mind instantly went to, wow, they don't think I'm having a very good day. And yeah, that's a mental like it kills me. But now as a coach, I'm looking at it like there's strategy in that. So I try to like educate my lifters as much as I can with that. Like, hey, if we lower your opener, it doesn't mean it's because you're having a bad day. It's because we want to, secure these placings and then we can, look at something bigger in terms of placings or whatever the situation calls for. Lowering the opener does not mean that, you're having a bad day. It might mean, hey, we're about to guarantee we win, so,
Yeah.
I think it's the perspective of how you look at that stuff.
Yeah, we want just enough to win. We want to push them to the brink and and conservatively just stay ahead. Or I think another important piece is, we talk about this with openers and lowering openers, but sometimes third attempts aren't the PRs, and especially in bench and squat. Uh, when I was coaching UL Lafayette and running numbers for them, and when I run numbers for people today, the goal is if we can be 5 for 6 going in the deadlift, we are going to be in a good spot. Not saying that we need to undercut all of these lifts and leave 10 kilos on the platform. Most of the people that I handle cannot deadlift. I like to make the joke that UL's alumni team should be called subtotals with the capital ULL. They are not deadlifters. We've got to get as right. But we got to get as much out in squat and bench as possible, but we cannot miss. So if it's not there, we just need to get it. Let's get our lifts and let other people miss. And then once we get the deadlift, we're always going to put what we need on the bar to win, or get the placing that we're looking for. But sometimes that takes a lot of strategy. You can't throw a Hail Mary every play, and you can't think that the avatar is going to come out every third attempt. You have to take what you have, get your lifts, let other people miss, and things fall in place.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so you got about 9 minutes, Cam. Let's get to the ranking, the projections. So the projections again are just based on qualifying totals. And I was, like I mentioned earlier, Cam did all the work. Like he did more putting all this stuff together than we've done for all of our episodes in the past combined, Laura.
Wow.
Well,
Nice.
I wish I could take credit for that, but Kate Driscoll from Northeastern University put these together. She is probably one of the greatest minds that we have in powerlifting right now. She's the most important person that very few know about, but the people that do, she's going to have a huge impact moving forward, especially in collegiates.
Awesome. All right, so our projected top 5 finishers on the team standings, Laura.
All right, for equipped women, going from 5 down to 1, Sam Houston State University is number 5. Number 4, Longhorn Powerlifting. Number 3, Blue Mountain Christian University. Number 2, Northeastern University. And number 1, Midland University. Right. So that's for the equipped women.
So who's taking if we're betting people, who's betting that's going to be the actual placings, the top 5? I'm going to say that's not how it finishes out, top 5.
Ooh.
I don't think that's how it finishes out too. Now there's a lot of point gaps. I'll say that there is the teams that y'all listed. Those are 5 of the best coaches, not only in collegiates, but in powerlifting. You have Mike Haffenbrack, Sandra Sebastian, Darrell Howe, who has built an incredible program with Blue Mountain.
That dude has done an amazing job.
Amazing job. Kate Driscoll, who everybody thought Natalie Hansen was, she was doing the programming for that team in 2022 when they got second place. But all of us at Collegiate saw Natalie may have been doing the programming, but Kate Driscoll was the one leading that team, and she has brought that team into a powerhouse that's going to be around for a long, long time. And then you got Tim Anderson with Midland, who has one of the best number crunchers in the nation. Somebody that I always watch when I'm crunching numbers, which means a lot. That list is limited to you, Josh, and Mike Haffenbrack and Donovan Thompson are some of the best people who can crunch numbers in that country. But you also look at 6th, 7th, and 8th place. Everybody can jump in and get a point here and get a point there. It's gonna mix up.
So do we want to talk about who we have listed as 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Who's that?
Number 6 being Texas A&M University. Number 7 being University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And 8, Javelina Powerlifting.
Any one of those can be in that top 5, I think.
I think so too. I think Texas A&M has a bit of a hunger. I know that all of those places are very tight. I love my Cajuns. They're going to have a tough time getting into the top 5, but they've done some pretty amazing things to flip around. I think the crazy thing is that one bomb out can change the standings completely. And we never know when it's going to happen or what's going to happen. But one bomb out can move a team from fourth to second. We've seen that before.
I don't buy that shit for 1 second, Cam. We're gonna have a tough time getting in the top 5. Like, I know what you're doing.
Well, I'm in reserve and on jury this whole week. So there will be no nonsense for me in the back. Last year, I think I went with direct numbers, but everybody thought that I was bluffing the whole time because I usually bluff, and then I put real numbers, so everybody second guessed themselves. But I can say that knowing the lifters on that team and knowing who the seniors are, they're going to go for the win until that last lift. And that's what everybody should do. Even if it's not realistic to win, you go for as high as you can. You fight for every place that you can. And I think UL has that. Texas A&M has that. Texas A&M Kingsville has that. And Sam Houston State. Mike Haffenbrack is going to crunch some numbers there. And Sandra Sebastian is going to crunch numbers. Granted, most of her lifters might go 0 for 2 in deadlift. I don't know why, but for some reason, Sandra finds a way to make it as dramatic as possible coming to the ending and go 0 for 2 in deadlift and then pull the third for the national title with all of her best lifters. But hey, that strategy works. I know it drives her nuts, but it's always fun to watch.
And isn't it a great place to be when you call the numbers straight and nobody believes you? Isn't that a fun spot to be in?
It's the best feeling in the world. It's almost as good as a feeling as every session before we get to deadlift and I'm crunching numbers. I go up to the scores table and ask them if I can change the rack height for deadlift. And there's always a look of confusion and then a laugh. And it feels just as good as getting that laugh every time from the scores table.
I've changed many deadlift rack heights. It amuses me. I don't always get that reaction from the score table. A lot of them are just like, stop.
Have no time for you.
I mean, you got a point there. It would be a lot easier for us to pull the deadlift if we had like a rack height of a 9 or 10. I think we could deadlift a lot more.
Should change the sport.
Maybe we'll have a ULL division for rack heights for deadlift.
Oh yeah, man. A bench squat competition. I've been looking for that for a while. We're subtotal champs over there.
All right, we better keep moving. You got to board a plane in a couple minutes. All right, equipped men, Laura, what do we got?
Equipped men, top 5, Northeastern University at 5. At number 4, University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Number 3, Blue Mountain Christian University. Number 2, University of Texas at San Antonio. And number 1, Midland University. Is the predictions.
I think Midland's got the advantage here. Of course, like I said, any one changes. I know that there are some tight weight classes there that can flip around. I don't think the top 5 is staying the same. I can tell you that there was a 4-way tie for 4th place last year. These teams are close. They're fighting for every point. One thing I'll say is that, when you look at, and this is from an individual standpoint, when you look at some of the most impressive lifters, not just in collegiates, but in powerlifting, Ray Bowering from Midland University, I'm really excited to see what he does this year. He not only squatted 1,000 pounds at collegiates last year, but he did it while twisting all the way up. So I think that this year he can have enough strength to pull it up and do a whole spin and then land on his feet in the same footprint. But I think that Midland definitely is a favorite, just like in every other division. But it's a little bit closer than it looks. A couple kilos here and there, missed attempt here and a made attempt here can switch things. I do believe my Raging Cajuns are going to place higher. I feel it. They got a lot of seniors on this team that do not want that are going to leave everything out there, and they've got their mascot Jared Knockan, who's making his comeback to collegiates and is going to be back there staring down every coach and every lifter in the back. And he's got a huge beard now, and he just looks very, very intimidating. And I think that could be a factor in their favor of, hey, somebody misses their third to deadlift because Jared stares in their soul.
I like it.
That's a great strategy. Raw woman, top 5. Texas A&M University at number 5. At number 4, McKendree University. At number 3, Davenport University. At number 2, University of Texas at San Antonio. And number 1 again, Midland University.
Midland. I think Midland's going to take this one pretty comfortably. One person that surprises me that's not in the top 5 that was in the top 5 last year was Missouri Valley. They got a new coach last year that has brought some stability to that team. And I know that they have some people that can make some noise in different weight classes. Maybe don't have the qualifying totals showing now, but that team is the real deal, and they're going to be around that top 5 area moving forward. But when it comes to that top 5, that's a very strong top 5, and we'll see what happens.
I love an underdog. All right, let's move on to raw men. The top 5 for the raw men is at number 5, Texas A&M University. At number 4, Army. At number 3, Davenport University. Number 2, McKendree University. And number 1, Midland University.
Midland. It said Midland's the team to beat until it said otherwise. I want to say about this one that the top 3, Davenport University started the team last year, and they have really just brought it together and have made some huge strides. There are a lot of NAIA schools that make a team, and it's like, are they for real or are they not for real? But Colin over there at Davenport has really put all of his passion and taken the steps to learn what he needs to learn to get his team to be elite. It warms my heart to see Army back in there. They're always in and out, but you see a full team of men and women that are representing Army this year. You see Navy and Air Force with bigger teams than they've ever had. I really wish the best for Army. I can tell you that they are deadlifters. They are going to come, and if they can pull for an extra place, they're going to try it. Will they get it? Who knows? But I always know it's always a treat to see Army deadlift, and hopefully they stick in the top 5 and maybe even do better.
Well, I agree. I think that is our projections again, based on qualifying totals, feelings taken out of it because that's just the straight numbers. But yeah, I agree. I think a lot of those placings get shifted around, and it's going to come down to who makes attempts, who doesn't, and I guess coaches' beards, according to Cam.
Yeah,
it makes a difference.
But unbiasedly, that's my thoughts. Biasedly, let's go Cajuns. We've got this. I'm always proud of them. No matter what they place, they come up, and you can tell that it's more than the squat, bench, and deadlift. It's about each other and really pushing each other to be better people moving forward. And if people get that out of powerlifting, then I'm proud of it. So I'm so proud of them, and I'm so proud of how far they've come and what they've worked through, but that they've stuck to the foundation and the things that are important, which is each other.
Awesome. Well, Cam, we appreciate you joining us for the Collegiate Nationals preview. If people want to follow along, Collegiates does start on Thursday and runs through Sunday. You can watch it live at usapowerlifting.com/live, and you can follow the live scoring at liftingcast.com, and you can follow the live team scoring at scoring.usapowerlifting.com. So again, Cam, thanks a lot for being here. We appreciate it. I know you got a flight to catch. I am very, very sad that I will not be attending. Like I said earlier, it is my favorite meet, but I have 2 daughters now, and pretty soon I'll be bringing them to collegiates. I brought Emma to collegiates last year when it was in Atlanta.
I remember that, and I'll drop for the first time publicly that hopefully we'll see both of you in New Orleans next year in 2026.
New Orleans
Nice. Is where we're going to be. That was one of my drops. The other one that I want to say is that I've been with collegiates for 17 years. I've been on the committee for 15. And as y'all were the first to announce, I somehow became secretary of the USA Powerlifting. And with that, everything has moved really fast. But when it comes to collegiates, I think that the collegiate chairman needs to be focused just on collegiates. It's that important that all your mindset has to go to that. And we have some great people in the up and coming that are coming to lead. It's been an honor to be on the committee and collegiate chairman for these past years, and I think I'm really proud of the work that we've done. But as of Monday, we will have a new collegiate chairman. This is going to be my last one. So we're going to have a really good time out there, and I'm going to be able to use, hopefully, I really don't know why anybody voted for me to be secretary. I'm still questioning in my head, but I think that I have some things to give, not just to collegiates, but to the rest of our organization and the rest of our community. And in order to do that, sometimes you gotta let the things go that you love the most. And so it's wonderful talking to y'all, as this is probably going to be the last time I talk publicly until the collegiate committee meeting tomorrow. But I'm really excited for what's to come for collegiates, and I hope everybody that listens in can just hear the tone from Josh and I's conversation earlier, that what we do matters, and this is a really special place to be. So if you're not coming this year, we hope you come in some future years to see how special it is.
Yeah, and I'll say too, Cam, I appreciate everything that you've given back to USA Powerlifting, and specifically collegiate powerlifting in general. And I think it's safe to say too, you're not going anywhere, right? You're still going to be around, still involved. Yeah, I think just because you're stepping back and letting other people take the reins, you're not going anywhere. So I appreciate that.
No, I'll always be around. This is the date that I'll never miss. And at the end of the day, if you've built something really awesome, then you should be able to take a step back and let other people lead. If it crumbles the second that you leave, then have you really built anything great? And I'm really confident that we've built something great over these years, and that the next chairman is going to take it to the next level, and I'm very confident in that. So, but I'm still going to be around. I bleed collegiates. That's where I grew up, and biasly and unbiasedly, I think it's the greatest meet in powerlifting.
Yep, I agree.
The loudest.
Yeah,
it is. We'll bring the cowbells. We'll bring the vuvuzelas. I'm looking for the next creative thing, but it's always great seeing Gino get involved with the teams and just having the cheers back and forth. Sometimes the vuvuzelas and cowbells get crazy, but I created the monster of the cowbell, so I have to live with it. And we just see all of these signs and the incredible creative things, and that's what makes this meet. It's the support, not the everything else going around, but just the people there. So, but I'm going to catch this flight. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah.
Do not miss your flight to Oklahoma.
No. Well, it will make equipment check a lot shorter for me, but I don't think anybody wants that. So awesome. Thank y'all so much for having me today. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
All right, you as well. Thank you so much, Cam.
Paka paka.
Bye now.
All right. Well, that's it for us. We will catch you all next week. Later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.